Good morning, everybody. Officially starting a live chat, just like I promised. And I'm going to go ahead and share this video. Bear with me for a minute. Hope everybody's having a really great day today. The weather here has been absolute crap, like it's been pouring rain nonstop. But it's been a pretty decent vacation. Going to share this on X, and then I'm going to send it over to my community post, and then I can start this thing finally. Create post. All right, so all right. Okay, so I shared this in the community post. All right. Hope everybody's doing good today. Enjoying the last several days before Thanksgiving comes along. Can't believe it. It's already coming. Like it came so fast. The thing is, Apollo, thank you for coming by. I'm not going to be putting these streams up because it's going to cause more drama and fighting, and I've just moved away from all that, and I've actually made it to the point where I don't want to bring those streams back up again because of the community, and I think that people really should understand the dangers of it if I was to put that back up. And I just don't want to be a part of that anymore. So, I mean, it's better to move on with a more positive outlook for the channel. I mean, I can do other content like wrestling content and horror film reviews and stuff like that, which I am moving on with from that direction. I mean, yeah, I get it that people miss those streams, man, but like, you got to realize like all the troubles that have happened in this community for the longest of time. Like, there's just a lot of people that use the content to fight with each other and stuff. And I just really don't want to be a part of it. And I also currently just wrapped up a situation with another person who had been messing with me for quite a long time. And, I just really don't want to have those things end up in their hands and stuff like that. And then they use it to come after me for it and stuff. And it's just going to open really a can of worms and stuff, man. I mean, I'm just trying to respectfully say that I can't really put that content up again. I mean, I can put up other content like wrestling content, which is actually something that's helping my channel grow because it's just like clips and short clips and stuff like that. But yeah, I can do other things, and I think it's a better thing for me as it is. The thing is, in this community, it's a drama community, and a lot of people really just don't seem to realize that the dangers of some of the people in this community. I think that a lot of the things going on lately with like YouTube has really just been kind of hard to really get a channel to grow, because wrestling content and other content in general really is just it grows a channel, but it's also something in itself to where a lot of people just watch the clips, but they don't really, interact with the channel the way they should. And I think a lot of channels are really like that. Like a lot of them do that kind of thing. But this platform really has become really bad over the years. Like there's so many people on this platform, stalkers, doxers, people running scams and all kinds of bullshit. And it's just really sad to see this website has really plummeted over the years because of that kind of stuff, but also because the platform is really bad with the algorithm and it's all that other stuff, to where channels are not able to grow the way that they once were. And it seems like the only time that when people really see any growth is when they're either putting clips up or they're basically just, you know, causing drama and stuff like that between other channels. And it just really is, it's bottom of the barrel selection, because it just really is very limited in terms of what you can do on here anymore. And it's just one of the most horrible things, because they're not pushing videos out the way they once did. They're not going to, you know, they're not going to improve the algorithm on this website to where we can all make content on here and get our content out, because there's a lot of subscribers of mine that do not actually get to see my videos for several days because of the fact that YouTube isn't pushing the content out. You know what I mean? But I really do, I enjoy making content from time to time. And, I think it's really now and then, but I'm not on here as much as I once was. But I mean, I've been trying to get more active and stuff. But they got to fix the algorithm on this website. Like, I literally cannot tell you how frustrating it is that, like, my content is just not getting out. Like, it does this thing where if I send the video over to Twitter, but the Twitter views are separate from the actual videos that are lined up on the channel, and the viewership is not actually lining up, and it's like it's a different number. And when I go to click on it, the numbers are just not accurate. Like, I don't know what the hell the problem is, but I cannot figure out why that keeps happening. But I mean, like, yeah, that's one of the many things with this website. And another thing is you can't really make content on here anymore with all the stupid flagging, and all the littlest things could get your channel like potentially hurt. Like I remember back when I did horror film reviews on one of my older channels, just for using photos in these reviews I did, I was getting nailed with content ID claims and stuff like that on my older channel and the content. But I wasn't using clips from the actual horror films, and I was just like getting violation after violation, and it just sucked. Like, pictures apparently fall under just like copyright and stuff or violations, and it's just so stupid. I just don't get how it is that could really be the case with doing those kinds of things where you add photos to a horror film review and then they're just like, oh, well, that's a violation, you know? Got one person here. Let's see, 10 minutes in. I'm not expecting a lot of people to really come in here because it's early in the morning and people are still just waking up. So I actually enjoy doing the StreamYards now and then. A lot of people really don't get into the StreamYard thing the way they once did. And another reason I'm not really on here as much anymore is because I've been spending the last few years with just taking supplements and, doing stuff with my health. It's actually gotten a lot better. It's something that's really cured a lot of illnesses in my head that are now completely cured, and it's a great feeling. Those supplements will do that. Like, they're some of the healthiest things that a person could really take. And it was the best decision I ever made, was to get away from the internet and just, do things that really have made me a healthier, happier person, which is more than I can say for some of the people on this platform that are just invested in being on here all damn day, and they don't go outside their house. They don't do anything with their time. And it causes them to get mentally damaged. Too much time on the internet is a bad thing. It really is. It's okay to do it for like content, but there are people that are on here hour after hour after hour, and it's just one of the things that where people need to remember that too much internet can be a bad thing. Aside from the crappy weather here, I've been having a pretty good stay so far. Got one person here. So and aside from all that stuff, everything else has been going good with me, and I've been doing really good for myself, and I have been making a lot of improvements, and I feel so much better. And the clarity feeling has been amazing because it's changed my life around for the better. And I mean, like, I don't have the problems I once did. And I really think that's something a lot of people should really look into more and more. So, and aside from all that, not much else is going on. Wrestling right now is all right, but I mean, like, it's just some of those same signs that they're still doing. It's just creatively, like, it's slightly better, but it's not much better from the Vince McMahon PG era, which, by the way, was my most least favorite era of wrestling. I hated WWE's PG crap. I couldn't stand it. I could barely even watch it. Got one person. See, when they did it again, this damn app, like, it's showing different metrics from the chat. All right, we got one like at least. That's pretty good. Anyways, WWE right now, I mean, yeah, it's getting pretty good in terms of the new year coming up and the Bloodline versus Bloodline storyline and stuff like that. Um, Let me just send this link. Gonna bear with me for a minute. Copy. Oh, come on. Let's see here. Computer's running slow too. That's also killing my mood. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the right one. Let's try logging this in here. This is stupid. Like I keep. Yeah, see, this thing is still doing this. Like, trying to switch an account here, and it's just trying to. All right, hang on a second. I got this now. Gonna have to do this again. God damn it. You know what? I'm gonna do this the other way here. StreamYard Studio. Copy. Hey, Alfredo, I'm sorry for the delay here. I'm having some problems with my logging in here. I'm trying to get this going. Create new account. Gonna turn the VPN off here. Turn. Trying to send the link on Facebook, and it's, oh, here we go. Okay. Blast. All right, here we go. Send the link. All right. All right. Got that done. All right, here we go. Excited for War Games next Saturday. Yeah, I mean, it's starting to look pretty good. I mean, the Bloodline adding like CM Punk and Paul Heyman returning. I'm surprised that he's part of the War Games match, to be honest. I mean, I thought this was strictly Bloodline versus Bloodline. But they're now like, he added a member of the Bloodline of the original, and it happens to be someone who isn't even the Samoan. State of WWE right now, we're solid. However, they need to fix the tag titles. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing that they're doing, like, there's too many championships, and there's no divisions. Like, it's so backwards to what they're doing with this, you know? Expected Cody to be in the War Games, but now I'm surprised it's CM Punk. Yeah, I'm surprised too. I actually see CM Punk finally winning the Royal Rumble and heading to Mania, but I want them to go further with this besides just a main event match. I'm really hoping they do a heel turn and CM Punk is the new leader of the Judgment Day. Like, I really do think there's potential with it. I know they said Seth Rollins would be good for it, but I don't see it. And I just don't think Rollins has really been removed all that long since his last heel run to the point where they have to switch him back. It just, I don't think it's necessary. Oh, here we go. Hey.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, how you been?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I finally was able to send you the link. I had some VPN issues that was restricting me to log into my Facebook.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Like my audio isn't, because it's been so long since I've been on one of these things. It's not choppy or anything, is it?
No, you're fine.
Awesome. Okay, so I obviously just wanted to address a couple of things here. I'll keep it brief. I don't want to take over your StreamYard here, but there is something. I didn't realize you were going live today, and I appreciate you inviting me on your stream here. But I just wanted to address one of the comments here. Apollo, you probably recognize my voice. Hope you're doing well, as it's been forever and a year. I think this is an important message to establish to everybody, regardless of where everybody is. I mean, I hope everybody's doing well. It's been interesting times. But a lot of these things that are, people are requesting, I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, fan of YouTube. I prefer to call you by your YouTube alias on a public platform here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you had said quite a while ago that you no longer have a lot of these copies of, like, if people are coming to talk to you to get old, really things that are irrelevant at this point, that you said you no longer have those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So while I can respect maybe some of you people out there think they're entertaining or whatever, I mean, keep in mind a lot of these streams no longer exist. And if you're looking for entertainment, I can pretty well guarantee you guys can find that entertainment in a lot of different venues and things like that. Not only that, but I think it would be respectable for some of assuming they even did exist, which they don't anymore, the people that took part in those streams, regardless if it's in a private sense or not, I think out of respect to those people, they would also and should also be notified to let them know to see, even if they were to give their permission. Regardless of if those people are friends or foes or whatever you want to call it. Bottom line here, folks, is I think there's a lot of other content you people can be watching, whether it be in a public or a private sense, that, that can be equally enjoyable. So take it or leave it. This is only my 2 cents. It doesn't mean you guys need to agree with it, but I think Fan of YouTube produces an amazing amount of content, and if you guys are only going to pop in the stream to ask him about old streams that were, dare I say, drama related, which they were, I think that's kind of a disrespect and a slap in the face to Fan of YouTube, as he produces some great content. He's a really great wrestling mind. And yeah, so, maybe inquire about some of those things as opposed to drama streams. Just to pop in to ask about old drama streams is kind of disrespectful, in my opinion, and it's redundant. I think this platform has turned into a cesspool of bullshit. That's one of the reasons why I'm no longer on here, because you have doxers, stalkers, people that are still obsessed with things that have happened upwards of 4 or 5 years ago, people that can only go weeks at best without mentioning somebody, bringing up other people's names, people attacking underage children just because they don't like somebody, people calling a person they don't like's kids a piece of shit. Like, there is a lot of fucked up people on this platform. And yeah, it's just, I wish you people could see the light at the end of the proverbial tunnel here, that there's a lot of pieces of shit on this platform. So, yeah, whatever drama streams do exist, hopefully, like, again, I think a lot of them are gone, as they should be, because there's no point in going back into the past. So that's basically I
definitely agree.
Yeah. So again, I'm not trying to, disrespect Apollo or anybody here, but yeah, I'm just saying, like, because I remember Apollo from back in the day. But again, Apollo, I'm sure there's many other content you can watch as opposed to just requesting old drama content. I mean, there's so much other content. So That's just what I wanted to, to basically say here. So, yeah. But other than that, how have you been doing, fan of YouTube?
I've been doing really good. The supplements I still take have improved my mental health even better. I got a nice clean bill of health. All my impulsive behaviors gone, my trauma, and I've been doing really well for myself.
Well, that's good. No, right on, right on. So I think I obviously kind of heard some spoilers for yesterday's SmackDown. I didn't even get a chance to watch it yet, but yeah, I don't know if you've talked about this, but speaking of, say, wrestling related talk, what are you thinking since Triple H took over? Now we've had a pretty decent amount of time where he's been involved. Are you enjoying his creative direction, or what's your thoughts on it?
I'm enjoying it a little bit more than I did with Vince McMahon's PG era, but I still wish they would put the women's championship on Shayna Baszler, because that's really annoying that they keep on the stop and start thing with her, where they're just mismanaging her career and putting her with tag team partners. And the whole point of her being a killer is to be on her own and destroying anybody that gets in her way. And they just keep having her rely on other people. And it just is really annoying.
Wasn't she a Triple H, one of Triple H's prized possessions, or whatever you want to call it? I thought he was behind Shayna for a considerable amount of time, right?
Yeah, when she was in NXT, I mean, she was champion mainly because of his creative vision that he was doing for the brand. But then when she came to the main event roster, they just butchered anything with her after the feud with Becky Lynch ended. And then ever since then, she's just been kind of lost.
See, now, because I wasn't an active NXT watcher, but I mean, I still will hear people talk about how Triple H from NXT is still different, even though he allegedly has full creative control. But if you look at some people like Johnny Gargano, and even though now I think with him and Tommaso Ciampa, they're really trying to, I don't know if they're reverting back to Ciampa's old NXT style of that killer aspect, but I noticed he's kind of been lackluster with some of the people that he had features on, or whether it be featured in a prominent role or not. Shayna Baszler is one. I would say Bianca Belair even two. And I understand they're trying to build probably towards Jade Cargill and her at WrestleMania. But some of these people that were really dominant and had a good character or gimmick aspect, he's kind of dropped the ball a little bit with them. I would say, again, Gargano, who I know he was heavily behind, as one. Tommaso Ciampa, who maybe he's trying to revert to build again, is two. There's a couple here. Obviously, Shayna Baszler has been getting the short end of the stick for a long time. So I'm kind of curious, not to put on my conspiracy theory cap here, but could it be that Triple H truly doesn't have as much creative control as what we are led to believe? Because why would he be able to do what he did in NXT, but then these people, he's not building them to be back what they were? The only example that I think in his favor we could give would be Pete Dunne, when they changed his name from Butch and slowly built back to Pete Dunne. But other than that, he hasn't really done the same thing with some of these other people that are claimed to be his prized NXT possessions. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I haven't really been following much of Pete Dunne, but I'm getting what you're saying with this on why it is that they're just not pushing, Shayna the way they did with NXT. But I think it's different with the main event rosters of Raw and SmackDown. There's just a lot of different people that really are just bringing forth a lot of outdated logic and thinking to where it just isn't the same. And I think that's why Shayna is just not really getting far. Still there?
Sorry, I must be lagging a little bit here. Do you think that she will ever hold one of the major women's championships? Or even, I guess, now the newly presented Women's United States Championship?
I hope so, but I don't see it happening. And I think that in a few years out, when they don't do much with her, I think that's where she probably should just leave and go elsewhere, just return to MMA or something.
Do you think Ronda Rousey will ever return back to WWE?
Yeah, I'm predicting SummerSlam 2025.
Okay. So do you think that they will revisit the feud between her and Shayna if she does return?
Well, they will. I think they will start that at first, but then when Shayna gets ousted from that trio group with Deville and Stark, and that's when they're going to put Rousey and Baszler back together against those two, and they're going to just bring their tag team back, and they're just going to be facing those two and going after everybody else.
So again, that's a good point. Going back to that Pure Fusion Collective trio for the women, I mean, to me, I think it's failed even worse than, well, like Damage Control at the beginning with Bailey being the leader sounded kind of cool and was promising. I haven't noticed anything positive about Pure Fusion Collective right from its inception. Like I think, even though I'm a fan of Zoe, for one, I think she's excellent, but she hasn't, like, yeah, her promo ability has always needed some improvement, and I don't know quite what it is, why I'm a fan of her, but yeah, there is something that I wish they could just do. But the Pure Fusion Collective dynamic, I think, as a whole, has failed. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, I know you've obviously talked about the group. It hasn't been promising, but like, what are your thoughts on the group as a whole?
Well, one thing that's happening is they're being called the female version of the Shield, which I think I'm seeing some similarities between the way they're booked with the Shield or towards the Shield in the past because of what they did, but also it's by the fact that, again, they're not utilizing Shayna the way they could. And that contradicts the whole meaning of why she's even in the group when she's supposed to be this killer. And it's just really kind of misdirection if you look at it. Like, they're having her being in this trio, but a lot of what they're doing is so much like the Shield.
Yeah, I agree, but like, obviously it's not as predominant as what the Shield was, unfortunately. Like, the Shield had obviously a really good, I think, a strong standing behind them, whereas Pure Fusion Collective, I don't know. It seems hokey to me, and I don't really know. Again, if Triple H had full control, why he would completely allow that, right?
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, I think that they would really do more with her, but I mean, Triple H, again, I think it's different with the main event rosters than it was for NXT, and I think he's got some restrictions on those two brands because they've been around a long time, but even before NXT, and I think a lot of the people that really work behind the scenes are just really not letting Triple H do what he wants to do. I mean, I could be wrong.
So do you think TKO obviously has, well, I mean, they would, just by default, they would have some influence with other people in there. But when they say Triple H is like what do they call it? Yeah, the main content creator or whatever his like actual title is, like, they never really talk about other people that could influence or have like background influence towards what he can and cannot do on TV. Or do you know anything about that?
I haven't really heard much about it, but I think that I know what you're getting at with this, but I mean, it's hard to say like how many people are really behind blocking his efforts to push these people. But it's just really something of a different atmosphere. I'm kind of fumbling on my words here, but it's kind of like describing the atmosphere of the brands, that they're all very different. And I don't think that he has really a lot of leverage on the main event roster because it's just a whole different scenario than NXT. I mean, it's hard to explain.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's funny. Like, what I was doing here is I was looking up, I mean, typically you can look up Reddit or things like that, and you get a feel for what the opinions of like the IWC would be on some groups, factions, and a lot of that can be toxic too. But I was reading one here where there's a Reddit post where they talk about the Pure Fusion Collective sounds like a legal weed store that sells bummer ounces and disposable vapes whose battery dies with half the juice left. So if you got Pure Fusion Collective being incorporated to be like, you know, I guess have some kind of like relation to weed, I think that should be pretty clear that, yeah, they either picked a bad name or they need to do something to change this. Kind of like what they did with the War Raiders, bringing them back, like the whole Viking Raiders, or what they called them, the Viking experience, taking this to the men's tag team or whatever tag team division side. Not that Pure Fusion Collective necessarily is directly involved, like, I guess, with the tag team. Like, two of them at any given time are, but they are more supposed to be this dominant woman's faction, right? So when you look at what they did with the War Raiders, stripping them down, kind of going back to the basics, and we'll see what Triple H does with them going forward. But I will say, I like that, other than, you know, like you need to still be able to speak. And that's where a lot of these groups are failing, is they suck at promos. Like, they need something to get them back in the promo, like in the promo aspect, to improve there. And I think that may help a bit. I mean, again, that's just my 2 cents, but
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And there's actually, on the subject that we're getting back to Shayna Baszler, I actually have a video coming up where it's going to show a bunch of clips of her savage moments. And I'm definitely going to get on that video, and then I'm going to just put it on unlisted, and I'm just going to send you it when I'm done with it. But it's going to be a pretty big video.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, that's for sure. Yeah. We'll check it out for sure. What are your thoughts on, like, I don't know if you've talked too much about AEW, and I'll say right off the bat, like, I have no problem with AEW. I don't watch it too much. Like, obviously, WWE, I'll stream when I can. I don't even remember the last time I watched an episode live, but what's your thoughts on AEW?
Well, AEW, they had a lot of promise when they came along and they were the alternative, but I'm starting to see some signs with them that they're kind of making a lot of mistakes. And from what I've been told, like their fan base is actually dropping because there's just a lot of things that they're doing wrong, like bringing in all these old WWE wrestlers, the main event spots. And that really was what I was critical about with WCW years ago. They did the same thing back then. And it's causing a lot of the fans to see this as nothing more than a company that wasn't utilizing younger talents. And it was just really kind of something that they're falling into the trap WWE had done. And it's hurting them as a business because they're just bringing back the past. And I've been vocal about this with even WWE, that these past performers are not what they're going to be. And they're just utilizing them in main event spots. And that's really driving the fan base away.
Do you think Tony Khan may need because from my understanding, he's like really the only guy that has full-fledged creative control, right? Like he doesn't really bow down to anybody else or gets anybody else's input, or?
Yeah, as far as I know, Tony Khan is running the thing entirely.
So with that, do you think, because I mean, now the hardcore AEW fans, which they make a good point too, like they have a certain way they like AEW, and their worry, from what I hear, is that the reason that they are questioning if Tony Khan was to bring in like almost a board for creative control, that it would steer away from the basic, like fundamental premise of what AEW was. Do you think that Tony should potentially, because I think that's been a lot of complaints for other people too, is that just his creative kind of sucks. Like he throws stuff on the wall to see what sticks. So do you think that would be a benefit to AEW, or potentially not, to bring in more people and not just Tony Khan making the final say?
Well, I mean, I have nothing against them bringing in other people as long as they know what they're doing. But I mean, it just seems like the biggest issue, like I mentioned, that they're not really pushing more of the younger guys, and it's just bringing in a lot of these past part-timers and stuff. And I think that that's really where it's like people are going to say you got to bring in more people because they see Tony Khan is doing this and they think that might be a problem. But at the same time, if Tony were to bring the wrong ones in, it could just do more damage.
Yeah, I agree. What, like, have you watched any like any of the AEW product recently?
Nothing recent. I mean, I've been trying to catch up on it. I got to get around to watching it again, but I've heard a lot about it's John Moxley. I almost called him Dean Ambrose, but that's really the only thing I really know of right now with AEW is John Moxley. And I think Chris Jericho's even been getting a backlash because people feel he should be retired by now when he still wrestles. And it's not really looking really good for his career at this late to still be in the ring and do this stuff. And it's getting him criticized.
Yeah, see, I've always been a fan of Jericho, and as far as like, I still call, well, you're supposed to say Bryan Danielson. I still call him Daniel Bryan, or like some of these other people here. Like, I don't know, does Bobby Lashley? Because I hear they're trying to build the Hurt business back up, but they call it something else. So I still call them by their WWE name. I don't mean to piss AEW fans off, but yeah, because I don't watch it on a regular basis, but. Yeah, I mean, I hear that which they should have done in WWE, because the Hurt business was good, but they really dropped the ball with Bobby Lashley, and I'm hoping that Tony does something with them now, but I don't know like how it's been so far, what AEW fans are with like in terms of that group, if they like where it's going so far. I know it's still kind of beginning, but yeah, that's one of the reasons I asked if you had watched that, what your thoughts are with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and MVP, how they are on AEW versus what they were on WWE.
Well, I think in AEW, they're going to do more with Bobby Lashley and MVP and Shelton, because there's not as much restriction in AEW as there is with WWE. And I think that Lashley, the biggest problem with him was they really had nothing else for him to do. And I think that that's really where they kind of like threw him away. And he's now in another company to where he can do more. And WWE throwing Lashley away was a very stupid move, because that guy, even though he's getting up there in age, he's still very dangerous in the ring and he's very intense and he can still go. And they just wasted an opportunity with them.
Do you think that his momentum, that being Bobby Lashley, it shifted once, because there was the big talk about him versus Brock Lesnar, and they met, was it last year or the year before, where they, like, because they both were in an Elimination Chamber match, and wasn't it Bobby Lashley, or yeah, I think he got injured or something, like legitimately injured, and that's why they never pushed the match. Is it possible that they invested too much in that, and then Bobby's momentum, like, not that he's a bad competitor, but they didn't really have any other plans for him because they were building so much to the Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley match?
Yeah, I think that that was one thing that they did wrong, but it was always it didn't help matters that they were going to have Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns another time. And that when they put Brock with Bobby Lashley, it just wasn't a long enough feud, and they weren't able to capitalize and do much with them in that feud, because it was always going to be Brock and Roman again. And that really was sadly the thing that hurt Lashley's career when that whole thing happened.
Yeah, no, because I've always been a fan of Bobby Lashley. I thought he was going to make some kind of a major impact, to whatever degree. I don't know. Like, okay, his promo wasn't the greatest, but same thing. Like, he had the look to be, well, even with his, what was he beat The Miz to win his first major championship. Because I think, yeah, before that he hadn't really won anything, and then he beat The Miz, and then he took it. Again, I can't remember the actual specifics because I don't follow wrestling as much as I do. But yeah, like, that was a pretty good run. And then after that, they completely dropped the ball. Now, mind you, that was still when Vince was and had some creative control. But yeah, like, not to turn this too controversial, but do you have or subscribe to this belief that Triple H does not like predominant European wrestlers?
I don't know about that. I mean, I haven't really seen that, but I mean, if that really is the case, then that could be one thing. But I mean, with the whole thing with like Lashley, just really is the creative thing with them is they only pushed him so far, but there was always that agenda feud that really kind of overshadowed a feud that he was in. And I think that that really was what caused all those problems. But, I do see what you're getting at, though. I just haven't seen much of that myself.
See, I don't personally believe he does. I think we live in a world where, if certain groups of people don't get their way, they are entitled to the point, and they've been taught to be entitled, that there automatically means there's something to do with their race or their look that is dictating why they are not getting to the heights that they want. In terms of, like, if we're looking at WWE, I don't believe, especially considering there have been other people, regardless of their ethnicity in this point, that Triple H is not pushing, or like maybe drop the ball on, or things like that. Now, Triple H, again, I'd like to give him a couple more years before fully making even another year, to be fair, before I start criticizing him too heavily, because I mean, he had to make quite a few changes after Vince was booted from the company, right? But I never subscribed to this idea that he's, like, to put it bluntly, he's racist because he doesn't push certain groups of people. I don't subscribe to that idea. And I just think that's a narrative that anti-WWE people are pushing. And again, people that have an alternate agenda that are just basically like trolls online that are trying to push in order to defame one's character, which I don't understand how these people can look at themselves in the mirror in the mornings or even at night. Like, what? To spew this kind of rhetoric and propaganda is sad, but to me, I don't believe Triple H by any means has any bias towards one group of people or the other, especially based on what we're seeing, like Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, bringing her in. We look at the Street Profits. I think he's been a fan of Montez Ford for a considerable amount of time, and they kept them as a tag team. I think even back in NXT, he was a big fan of them. So just to use those couple of names as an example, And again, not to be, well, clearly I am long-winded here, but when it comes to the Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill tag team, I think people are saying, well, he's putting handcuffs proverbially on Bianca because he's teaming her with Jade, when the reality is they're trying to get Jade established as a good wrestler because her wrestling ability has been lacking. Plus, they think that she could be a big sell because of what she can potentially turn into. So he's trying to build her where eventually we're going to see the Bianca and Jade match at what I'm assuming will be WrestleMania. And I think people are missing the bigger picture in terms of trying to build stars there. But I really got frustrated listening to the IWC a lot, and I'm talking on like several different outlets where they claim that Triple H is not fair because he's putting handcuffs on Bianca, when the whole point is to build them towards a match at WrestleMania. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that.
Well, I disagree with it too. I mean, I think it's just petty fans that obviously just when they don't get what they want, they just complain and just go on a warpath. But the only thing I really ever had against Triple H is the crap he pulled on China back in the day when he had the affair with Stephanie. But that's a long time ago. But the stuff he's doing now, I mean, he can only help so many people. And you got these fans that are just going to trash on anything that they see or what they don't get their way. And that's really kind of the problem with wrestling fans as a whole.
Yeah, no, what he did with China, for sure, I will agree, that was sad. I mean, at least she was she did get, she was inducted as a single person in the Hall of Fame, or was it with DX? I can't remember now.
I don't think it was either of them. I think it might have been single. I'd have to look that up. But I mean, I know for a long time that they had really ignored her existence, and they really just didn't reach out and help her the way that they could have. And before she passed away, I mean, China was just really a broken, miserable woman, and she had a lot of anger towards Triple H, and rightfully so. And she told the story about how she wanted to fight Stephanie McMahon, and I guess that's why they released her. But she had every justification for being angry with both Stephanie and Triple H, and it's just sad that her life went downhill and she couldn't get help.
Yeah, no, 100%. She had a lot of struggles and addiction issues, which is sad. I was looking this up. Okay, so I guess she was inducted, as part of D-Generation X back in 2019, and she was according to, Uncle Google here, was the first woman to be inducted into the Hall of Fame as part of a group. So now the unfortunate part is she was obviously inducted multiple years after her death, which I think is very unfortunate. And even reading here too, I guess there's some people, I'll have to watch why, but there's some people that were frustrated that her Hall of Fame induction, it says, quoting them verbatim, that it enraged some fans. I don't know, maybe I just have a softer heart towards, people that go through struggles and this and that, but I don't personally, I wish she was alive when she was inducted. Sure, she made bad choices, okay, and had addiction issues and things like that. But I don't think that she deserved the disrespect that she did receive from WWE when she was alive based on her real life struggles. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of just bad decisions and the fact that she had a lot of trauma over the situation and losing her job. And it was just really, I think, an emotional toll that just never escaped her. And she just didn't know how to cope with it. And she sank into a lot of problems that really just made her whole life even worse. And that sadly costed her life.
Yeah, no, it's sad. I mean, like I said, she definitely made an impact on the business and the industry for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's, I think, pretty clearly evident that based on all the evidence that Triple H did cheat on China with Stephanie. But I don't think, that she deserved as much. And again, too, now with some of that influence by Vince McMahon, did Vince and Stephanie say, hey, you need to do this, otherwise, you won't get to where you want to go in terms of his wrestling career? Because there's been people talking about the fact that Triple H wouldn't even, he was a mid-card at best wrestler, and he wouldn't be where he was today if he didn't get involved with Stephanie. That conversation has been going on for years and years and years, and I'm sure there's various opinions on that, but I think, Triple H did basically screw her and dishonor her memory while she was still alive, just because of his affiliation / relationship with Stephanie.
Yeah, and it was also by the fact that I guess he destroyed the career push of Test, who was actually supposed to be a main eventer. And apparently Triple H, he went to Vince McMahon and pushed that angle of him getting Stephanie like drunk and they got married and that whole storyline thing had happened. That was originally supposed to go to Test, and that whole thing got ripped out from under him by Triple H, who went behind the scenes and sabotaged his push.
Yeah, well, Test also had some, wasn't it addiction issues himself too?
Yeah, he had a pain pill addiction, and I think that it was reported he had CTE in his brain that they examined after he passed away.
Yeah, it's just sad. I mean, some of the things that happen to these people, I mean, self-inflicted or not, it's just really sad how there's people. I mean, I guess that's the quote unquote joys of capitalism, is where people like Vince will take advantage of other people and other people need to suffer while he's making a multi-million-dollar at that point company turning into now billions of dollars, I think. But speaking of that, did you watch the Vince McMahon documentary?
Yeah, I caught some of it. It was pretty good.
Do you was there anything that kind of stuck out in your mind, or dare I ask what your thoughts are on Vince?
Well, he did a few things in the past that really made me angry, like the Montreal screw job and the way that they handled Owen Hart's death by keeping the pay-per-view going. And those were two incidences that really made me hate the guy.
Yeah, I didn't realize how shady of a person he was, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be a considerable amount of time before there'll ever be a resolution to this whole lawsuit. I mean, yeah, I don't really know. I was actually kind of surprised, not to get into too much political talk, but I was kind of surprised that Linda McMahon was, I can't remember exactly the title, but she's part of Donald Trump's cabinet, which was a surprising pick to me, based on, well, the documentary and the things that they said about Linda as well. But I mean, and again, some of this is alleged. There is no proof, but just for simple talking point, I was surprised of some of the things, because I thought she was had the heart of gold, but I didn't realize that she did some of the things, or allegedly did some of those things, right?
Yeah, I think she might have had some involvement in some of the stuff that's been reported about Vince, like the sex trafficking thing. I'm wondering how much she knows about that.
Well, they said the same thing potentially and allegedly again about Stephanie and how much she knew and didn't know. So again, a lot of these situations are alleged, so you just kind of go with whatever the rhetoric is that they're talking about online, but still interesting. And I mean, sad for the victims nonetheless of all of these cases. But it's just kind of interesting to hear what people are saying on both sides of the fence, whether they are for or against Vince, they're for and against Linda, or they're for and against Stephanie. You hear both sides, and it's kind of crazy. But the one really sad part as a whole, not even relating to wrestling, but it's just the division that is in the world these days is also really sad. But I don't know if there's a way to turn that around, but one can only hope. So.
Yeah, that's true. There is a lot of division in the world, but a lot of it is also because people don't take care of themselves.
Yeah, no, that too. I think again, not to be you have to look at life like there's, clouds with smiley faces. Every day is going to be a fantastic day. Sure, there's drama and things like that, but I think just the simple aspect of treating people with respect. And just, hey, you know what? You're not always going to see, you're not only going to see people's point of view all the time, but you're not always going to agree with people. That's just life. But it still doesn't mean that you can't either still be friends with them or mutual acquaintances, contacts, colleagues, whatever you want to call them. I just think that, hopefully the world can get back to understanding that true diversity means people are not always going to see eye to eye, but it still doesn't mean that you can't get along with them and work with them,
Yeah, there's definitely no more compromise in the world. Everybody's too busy one-upping each other in arguments, and they have to be right, and they get angry real easily, and it just never solves anything. There's no clarity anymore with anyone's mentality.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to, hopefully I didn't come in here and kind of take over your StreamYard here. I just, yeah, it's been a while, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come and talk some good old wrestling with you. I still enjoy watching it. Again, I don't have the time as much as I used to, but I'll catch, say, on some live streams and this and that. Maybe the one final question that I'll ask you is, how do you see this Netflix for Raw going to Netflix? Do you think that's going to be a positive direction for wrestling? Like, do you think they're going to get more viewership? Do you think it's going to be better? Or like, do you have like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it'll be a big thing because Netflix has really grown over the years. Despite they need to back off on the price increases, they seem to be doing almost twice a year. But I also think that it would be better exposure because I really don't like Peacock. They've caused me so many problems with just watching WWE. And that's one of the reasons I don't watch on their network anymore. But I mean, when it goes to Netflix, hopefully they'll have better luck with it. But they got to also get their servers worked on because I guess like they had a lot of problems with the Tyson and Paul fight. And it was just a major glitch fest. And Netflix, with all the money they have, they've got to really invest in some better servers.
I heard about that, yeah, and I think because they're not really expecting the influx, like you said, server-related issues, the amount of traffic flow. So yeah, I hope they get those worked out because even if, let's say, for the first week of WWE or maybe first couple of weeks, let's just say the first episode, because everything is about first impression, right? If the first streaming episode, which clearly is going to have a lot of traffic, if there is glitches, regardless if they fix them from that point forward, that's going to be a really major problem. So I hope they're prepared for that because, that would be a really bad first impression that could influence a lot of people.
Yeah, and they got to really stop with the price increases. Like it seems like they just go up every $2, and they don't really offer much in terms of improving with the price increase. And that's one thing that's really kind of annoying me with that whole platform of the video streaming. I mean.
Yeah, no, price increases as a whole, inflation has been terrible, and I'm hoping that kind of subsides and eventually comes down, but that's only wishful thinking here, obviously. But I do have to get going here, but again, thanks, Dana, you two, for allowing me on your panel, and I definitely look forward to coming on again soon. So we will catch you later, buddy.
Okay. All right, let me answer some questions here. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Let's see here, Alfredo. Nick, I know, but Bulldog had roids addiction. Yeah, the British Bulldog, he came back to WWE at a point in time when WCW let him go because of that back injury he had when he fell on the Ultimate Warrior's trapdoor. And around that time, I think that the Bulldog was not only going through like an addiction, but I think he was also having like a lot of marital problems, and he was having clashes with the Hart family. And I guess from what I've been told by the story, the Hart family, half of them cut ties with Davey Boy Smith. And apparently he just had his life go completely downhill at that point. And that's another example to why wrestlers do not find the help they need. And that's one of the biggest things that I think that caught up with these performers in the years ahead. And a lot of them have passed away at young ages. And it's just really sad how there wasn't really a lot of help for these talents and performers back then. And that falls into an example of what I mean. There should have been help sooner. And if you go back to the wrestlers union idea that Jesse Ventura had, it was to provide better care for the performers. But at the same time, Hulk Hogan found out about that. And I guess he went and snitched to Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon stopped it. If they had pushed that sooner, that could have saved a lot of problems for a lot of these performers. It could have saved lives. It could have really been a big thing. And they blew it. And, it just really is a horrible thing that these people never found help that they did. It just really is sad. Wrestling shouldn't have been so out of control like that. They should have at least provided better care for them, is all I'm saying. I'm not trying to go into a rant here. Owen Hart's death broke British Bulldog in the darkness. Yeah, I mean, it definitely did. I mean, it also messed up Bret Hart, and Bret Hart's WCW career obviously was affected by that. And that's what Eric Bischoff said in the 83 Weeks podcast, that he believes that Bret had a lot of trauma in his head to where he wasn't able to be the hitman anymore because of the loss of Owen. And I agree with that. I do think that's one thing, despite I don't agree with everything that Bischoff says. But I do believe that was really one thing that affected Bret Hart's career to where he had to retire, and the kick to the head from Goldberg. Don't get me started on that. I think that's really awesome of DDP to actually do that, but I think that there needs to be more help, and there should have been help more sooner for these performers. And I think that's one of the many reasons why professional wrestling really was just out of control and stuff like that. So that definitely is something that I would like to see more of. These performers need to be given more breaks too, and they need to heal from injuries. And it could have really had saved a lot of people, a lot of problems. So, anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. My battery's about to die, and I got some stuff I got to go do, but I might try and do another chat later on. And I just want to say thank you to Neo for coming and everybody for coming into this chat. And more content to come. And I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.